there's been some real tensions between Canada and India. I've heard about it. Give us what's happening here. Give us a synopsis on what's happening.
Let's just first unpack it, right? Let's just go as to what's happened here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess in Canada and across the world, we've seen them in Melbourne, Sydney. They have these referendums that sort of like, they don't really count anything towards the Indian government. They just like to show, like, the Indian government, look how much people voted for this, right?
Yep.
There's a referendum on Khalistan. So if people don't know what Khalistan is the idea of the state of Punjab being its own independent country.
Yep.
Right. And that was something that was promised by the first prime minister in 1947, I believe. That because obviously when the partition happened, a lot of Sikhs and Punjabis were a little bit like scared because they're minority, right? Like in amongst all the Hindus and the Muslims of India, like they're a very small minority in what makes up India. So they were concerned that, like, look, if these guys are getting their own countries, we probably need something of our own, right? And the first prime minister was like, yeah, we'll assure you that this will happen. But then that idea slowly went away. Yeah. And like in Punjab was integrated into India and that was something that just sort of went away. And then obviously over the years, the Indian government and Sikhs and Punjabis have had a lot of, but there's history there. Like, Indira Gandhi, who was assassinated and by two Sikhs. And there's all this stuff that's happened basically, and that has, throughout the years, that has brought up tensions, I guess, where Punjabis are sort of feeling like they're not really part of India.
Yep.
Sikhs are feeling like that. They're not part of India, Punjabis, Sikhs, both. And that's what this sort of thing was, is that people wanted to bring back this whole Khalistan, sort of idea that Punjab should be its own country because, and we've seen this in the past couple of years with Modi, there's been some tensions. Like there was the farmer protests that happened, I think it was during COVID, where the Punjab farmers, mostly Sikhs, were complaining about, because the big companies are coming in and they'll, basically putting these farmers out of business, right? So the problem happened when they were protesting, and it went on for months and months and months, and no one cared about them. No one came, no one responded from the government, and that caused tensions, which has fueled even more of this Khalistan sort of movement. Now, in Canada, there was this guy who was organizing these referendums of people coming out to vote, whether you believe
he was organizing.
He was organizing. He's just an organizer, a community member, and he's organizing them. And
but is he organizing on behalf of the Indian?
No, it's just organizing as part of a community, Sikh community.
Doesn't a referendum have to be instigated by the country though?
No. So this is
it actually a referendum, or it's more like a vote?
A vote, just a polling vote, right? Like he was just organizing a polling vote amongst Indians to come and
Sikh Indians specifically.
Yes, like just
anyone.
So what their view is on.
So it's like a petition, right?
It's like a petition of sorts, right? Yeah, it's like a petition of sorts. And he was doing this, and obviously, the Modi government is not really liking any of this type of stuff. Obviously, when they came here, Modi, there was a lot of protesters that were doing this stuff as well, and they were sort of silenced and told they can't come towards where Modi was, and it's just the tension. There's been tensions amongst Indians and Khalistans because we've seen fighting happen on Melbourne streets actually recently this year, and it's just gotten into a situation now where that guy who was organizing those protests got murdered.
Yep. In Canada though, right?
In Canada.
Yeah.
Right, in Canada. And it was, I think, near the temple. It must have been, I think. That's what I've heard. And now this is unique in that Justin Trudeau just went out in Parliament and just said, the person who committed this murder was...
Apparently they have justifiable evidence, right?
Yeah, a high-ranking official from the Indian government. Now, I don't think something like this has ever been sort of done before. I can't remember a prime minister talking in Parliament about an Indian national about a murder. This has never happened.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit shocking that that what's happened since the response to this, right?
What do you think is going to happen? Like, it's going to be a lot
Well,
of
the Indian
rage,
government
right?
didn't like this, right? And
Yeah.
look, you can have your views on Modi, whatever it is, right? He's sort of done things where I don't agree with, but that's just my views. But
Yeah.
it's there's the actions after it where he's kicked out, the Canadian diplomat, the foreign national, whatever the foreign secretary, to go home, basically, and Canada has issued travel advisories to India and stuff like that. That type of stuff has really just inflamed things, and then we're seeing like the international response to it as well.
Oh yeah.
The ally countries are like, what's going on? Like, what they've asked India what's going on, and there's not really been a proper response to it, I guess, from India and Modi.
I think you're right. Like in recent times, even if we zoom back, I can't. I'm just thinking from a game theory perspective.
Yeah.
Even if you knew that to be true,
Yeah.
and in his mind, he knows that to be true, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be right or wrong, right? Because
Yeah.
he's saying he has evidence linking this to that.
It's a big thing.
Does it make sense to say it out? like that in my mind, that's a very brazen thing. That's shit. There has to be some level of strategy.
That's probably what Modi is angry about.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that this wasn't brought to him in a private matter. Maybe it was. Who knows? We don't know the back dealings of countries.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was said in Parliament in public, in a very public way.
It seemed like, there were cameras there. There's always cameras at these things anyway, right? But yeah, Trudeau is like very well presented. Like people do listen to him. Canada as a country is very progressive, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're right. Like I don't know how much like exports, imports, and interactions from a trade perspective India and Canada have, but
It's massive. It's massive because there is a massive Indian
contingent
migration,
there, right?
there's a
Yeah. But that's
massive
what I
Indian
mean.
migration
When you do that, you have effectively put a massive wedge that who knows how long it'll take to heal, right?
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that someone like Trudeau would not think about the full implications of a statement like that, which again makes me feel what was the actual outcome apart from maybe the fact that he just felt.
Well, this is the
he
thing.
needed to tell
This
the
has
truth.
got to do a lot.
His version of it, at
a
least.
lot with world politics going on at the moment as well,
Yeah.
right? With China has lost favor amongst a lot of the Western countries, right? They were looking for someone. They were looking for a replacement of that. And look, I don't agree with Modi and all the stuff he's done in the background, but what they were doing with him, I found a bit egregious. And the fact that because of the fact that they were trying to find this replacement for China, that they were propping up, Modi and India, without really knowing his background and stuff like that and all that sort of stuff. We saw when he came to Australia, parading a massive show in Kudos Bank Arena. And he's like, you got like 20,000 people there. But like, I don't know whether that was the right thing to do, right? Like with all this sort of thing, like all the stuff, the background he has, any other prime minister, great, do it. But it's just a bit, there is controversy there. Why go there? Like, and then why, like you said, why drive a wedge amongst the Indian community? Like, why do that? When I don't know. It's tricky. It's a tricky situation where there's a lot of world politics now involved, and Australia's made these deals with India as well recently, and Canada is asking Australia to ask India to go like, "What's up?"
Well, a lot of these alliances, these intelligence, like whatever you want to call it, committees or intelligence waves, are from like variety of countries too. I think I've saw in the news that it was mentioned Australia was one of it. It too. So I almost wonder if.
The interesting thing is the US is quiet on this.
Of course, they're quite on this
Because they're trying to think, how do we play this?
So you guys have got their own problems.
Like I don't know, like if we say something, it could, because they're looking at world politics as well. Like if we say something, China might take this and this, and so there's a lot in this. This has major implications on a world stage. But at the end of the day, it is tragic that someone has passed away.
Of course, yeah. But again, like you said, like I don't like to use the word fascinating, but like of recent times, we haven't seen such an overt communication of such a thing, accusation towards a country, right? Like it's just
and like look, I am of Indian descent, so to me, it is heartbreaking to see that this is what my country has sort of come to now.
Yeah.
In that aspect, like we used to be a very secular country where everyone's involved. It doesn't feel like that way anymore, and I'm just sort of like thinking this is not how we want to be seen on the world stage. We don't want to be seen as China's very got that warrior state. That's not how we want to be seen.
Yeah.
We're much more than that. Like I feel like we can be much more than that, and it's just it's a bit heartbreaking, that this is the route that we're going, and I feel like we should definitely like look to do more better. Like this, I'm sorry, but like they've got to work out this whole situation with Canada, because Canada is one of their biggest partners in migration.
I think so too. I think that's what makes this.
Yeah.
I think, I almost
like
think
in Canada issuing travel advisories. Like, come on, man. Like there's no travel advisory to go to India at the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit, it's a bit over the top as well from Canada. But
I think that's what a lot of Indians are feeling as well. We just don't know what's happening behind that curtain, right? Like there are power games being played.
There's massive power games.
To what version of it we just don't know.
Yeah.
We're sitting on the sidelines watching it in Chang Media.
Yeah.
Oof.
But it's just like, I'd sort of end it with like, hopefully they can work it out.
Yeah.
Right. Because they are massive sort of countries in itself. Canada, India, Australia. We're all part of this big block of countries that have got a lot to do in the world right now. The world, the state of the world there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
All the stuff with Ukraine, Russia, all the stuff. Like there's a lot going on that we just need to have some solidarity a bit,
Yeah.
There's
a lot of good stuff going on too. Yeah. That's the irony of it. I mean, India landed on the moon. Like to simply do that is such a big thing. So you don't want like stuff like this marring basically achievements which progress mankind as a whole. Yeah. Right.
And progress India as a whole, man. Like we're much more than what we've been sort of. We're amazing sort of people over there. Like, the landing on the moon. But like to me, even stuff like Bollywood being like the biggest, film industry in the world, bigger than Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's a massive feat that India has. The fact that, we have cricket as one of the biggest sports, it's the third biggest sport in the world. It's, all stuff that India's driven, and we're doing a lot. We can do a lot more.
Yeah.
And I just think that right now we're not really doing that with our government.